Alright, there we go. Good morning, or good day to most of you. I hope everyone can hear me alright. Maybe the music should be turned down a little. Today's stream is a bit odd since I will be discussing the Gold Coast region and what we plan to do with this region of Cyrodiil. Yesterday we hosted our very first landscaping stream for the Gold Coast, and due to some good news within the developers team, we are able to make the Gold Coast a lot more interesting. I originally had in my opinion, pretty amazing concept for the Gold Coast on how we could improve it, but this was scrapped due to some limitations, which focused me to work on a concept that kind of worked around these issues. But it seems like we don't have to do this anymore, so I wanted to record a video for our landscapers to kind of talk about this stuff and have it archived. So I thought I might as well do it live, so you guys can join the conversation and maybe share your thoughts. So yeah, I'm gonna start by launching the game and showing you what the Gold Coast looks like right now, and then just real quick gonna tell you what we plan to change. So if you give me 1 minute, I will launch the game. Also, if any Skyblivion developers are watching, no need to share this on Discord. It's gonna be an exclusive stream. Now, I've done this type of stream in the past to some extent, where I talked about the different regions for a while. I've never dedicated a stream to one region in particular, so yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm not planning on doing a lot of these type of streams where I talk about our vision for certain regions. If this is something that people are interested in, I can change that potentially. Right. I'm also forced to... Let's see. I'm forced to read the chat on my broken smartphone, which has a cracked screen. So it's going to be hard to read the questions, but I will try my best to answer anyone who has a question. And of course I get an ad on my phone. Alright, even though this is looking beautiful, let's change the time to midday-ish. This is also something that needs to be fixed. We have new weathers for all the regions currently, but there seems to be a lot of storm and cloudy weather at the moment. Let's make a save just to be sure. Alright, so this is the Gold Coast as it stands, which by itself is pretty damn amazing considering what limitations we had to deal with. Now for people wondering, there will be waves added to the coastline. That's just a part of detailing which we generally don't start on until the the main landscape has been completed. So let's fly around for a bit so I can show off the region as it stands. And then I'll talk about the ideas that I want to implement with the help of our landscapers. So to start off, we have pardon, we have Anvil, which is a lovely port city, which will also be slightly expanded to make up for the big ships that come to this great city in order to trade their goods. I would like to see more trading ships, and in order to make this happen, the port needs to be expanded a bit. There's also this weird extra wall, which we can't really figure out the use of, but that's something we can worry about another day. So, the Gold Coast as it stands. The Gold Coast is a Mediterranean area. I hope I pronounced it correctly. The music is on the loud side. Alright. Let me change that. I hope that's better. And yeah, the the seagulls in the background are very annoying, I know, but our sound and effects team will work on that in the future. Alright, so the Gold Coast as it stands is a pretty decent concept for what it eventually will look like. Something we changed already is that the coastline has been improved a lot. In Oblivion, the beach kind of fell into the ocean, where it had a very steep drop all of a sudden. We've smoothed this out a bit, so it's more like an actual beach that gradually flows into the ocean. We have added these placeholder sandstone cliffs, which are not here to stay and will be replaced in the future, but it's a good concept to show what we are planning for the area, because we want to add these big natural sandstone cliffs along the beaches, as you can see here. But behind these sandstone cliffs, the landscape will become much more mild and easygoing. So slight hills. This mountainside, which you see right here, will be completely erased or lowered, which you saw ArcSea work on yesterday. So in general, the landscape will be made much more, will be lowered a lot generally, with these sandstone cliffs next to the beaches. Now I have some real life references I can show you. So let me back out a little bit. See if we can get some clear weather again. I should write down the weather codes sometime soonish. Alright, this is good enough. I hope you guys can still see the game. Yeah, you can. Alright, so here are some real life references. First up is this one. This place is called the Azure Window, if I can get it to show up. There we go. This place is called the Azure Window. It's a pretty neat rock formation in a Mediterranean region, and I have more of these which kind of show what we want to do with the area. So the Gold Coast will be a mix of calm beaches and sandstone rock formations that lead into the ocean, to make it a bit more diverse and less boring. This is also kind of a chance for me to kind of think aloud, as we recently regained the option to make the Gold Coast a very awesome region. Now, as you can see in this picture, we have a location which is surrounded by sandstone. There are no sandstone cliffs, and the landscape gradually works its way up with a lot of bushes and shrubbery, which is a fantastic reference for our Gold Coast region, as it's supposed to be very dry, barren, but yet full of flora that can withstand the dryness of the region. Now in the background you can also see these little sandstone cliffs, so this is kind of like a natural cape, which looks pretty nice. And let's see, this is also pretty neat, as we plan to use those sandstone cliffs. It's far too extreme for what we have in mind, but it's kind of nice to have a look at how these sandstone cliffs look in real life. And this is also a neat one because you can really see the calm beach, and in the background the rocks on which a house was built. Again, shrubbery, the emptiness of the beach, and then at a certain point it reaches a point where the sea doesn't really get to anymore, and it starts to get overgrown with these dry grasses, which would look great for the Gold Coast. And I should probably turn on some music to make it less boring. There we go. And we have more of these, and another great example of real sandstone cliffs. And this is a picture I picked because I think it's a great reference for where the Gold Coast and the Oblivion Highlands kind of meet, where you get more pines and music is too loud. Alright, I will lower it. Oh, this is better. Yeah, so this is a good reference for where the Gold Coast and the Oblivion Highlands meet. The Oblivion Highlands is a region that Clef J is currently working on, who generally streams every Thursday. Which so far has been going pretty well. It's one of the the more smooth areas we've been working on lately, besides the Gerald Mountain, since that's very Skyrim inspired. And another reference for sandstone cliffs. And again, the Azure window. Now we have something like this already, which I can show off. It's actually on the left of the screen, which is being blocked by the images. There we go. Not sure if you can see, but we have something similar to the Azure window, which is a very popular scenic view or scenic location. But yeah, I hope that kind of gives you all an idea of what we plan to do with this magnificent region. Now I also have some references from the Elder Scrolls Online, but first I want to show you some references for Such. As you know, SKSE did a great stream. It's actually his very first stream on the Gold Coast region yesterday. And before he started the stream, we discussed the location of Such, actually. And I will kind of show you what I showed him yesterday. So here's a first image that shows the the location where Fort Such was supposed to be located, more or less. As you can see, Lord Drad's estate and the Bleak Mine are within the, I'm going to call it the skeleton of Such, which are the walls, which by now would have been crumbling down, or which would have been destroyed and mostly would have come crumbling down. So you wouldn't be able to find a lot of the city, which I can actually show you in our concept art. So this is our vision for Such. As you can see, there are still some remains of the watchtowers, the gate, the hidden walls, or the walls. And in the background we can see the mountains, etc. Now, Fort Such was a fairly big city. And as with any city, you don't just build that anywhere. You don't just find a place and decide to build a town or a settlement. For a big city like this, it would be best to find a location that can be easily defended. And as you can see with Such, on the right side we see what is the beginning of sandstone rock formations. So part of Such, of the city Such, was placed on an elevated plateau of sandstone, which is what you saw Arksy working on yesterday. He started adding these rock formations to the sides. Now it's not surrounded by sandstone. It's not like an island, complete island. To the what's that? Northeast, I think. To the northeast of Such, there's a water lake, which would have provided the town with fresh water for its citizens. Now, this part of Such would probably be more or less flat and even, so the road would lead without any hiccups towards this sweet water lake. Now, surrounding the fortress or the city on this side would probably be the rock formations we worked on yesterday, with this side being more even and open, which again makes sense since it's close to Gavach and Anvil, and any attacks from Hammerfell, which is over this way, would be more easily defended against. Again, the concept art. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And for people who are not familiar with Such, it's actually a city that was cut from the game. Now, we had a kind of a funny question in, I think, Discord yesterday, where someone told us that it was very lore unfriendly to include Such, which is pretty hilarious because Bethesda actually left out Such, but the city itself has been mentioned in lore, which can still be found in the game. So what kind of happened is that before the game was released, they showed Such on the world map. Such had been mentioned in the lore, and then when the game released, it was for some reason cut. And they more or less fixed this in the lore, saying that the city had been destroyed and essentially it was, yeah, it was wiped off the planet of Nirn. But you could still find this one small fortress, which I can show you again, which is Fort Such, which is a single tower, which is kind of odd since this whole area was supposed to be a ruined city or a long lost city. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna restore it which will make the Gold Coast region an even more interesting place to explore. As you can see, Lord Drad's estate is within the castle walls, more or less, and it will stay there. It's actually a great place for someone to build an estate, since you have at least some level of protection against anyone who will try to rob you. And there's a main road going back to Anvil, so it's really easy to get to this place. And it will be really interesting for people to explore the region, or explore this location, as it will be more or less untouched. There will be a lot of rubble, maybe old chests and treasures to be found, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to make this place feel legit, which I'm personally really excited for. I think oh yeah, I think this is a map they showed at E3 in the past, before Oblivion was released, where you can see that such was actually included. I might be mistaken, but I think this was an official map that they showed. But that is what this map is based on. This is made by someone else, not by me. But someone made this, him or herself, and was inspired by the glimpse of such that we originally got. So yeah, the thing is that we are currently waiting on a lot of assets for the Gold Coast region and for such in general. We will need the ruined fortress assets, maybe a ruined cathedral, which we will get eventually. But yeah, it's gonna take a while for us to get all our assets in order, which is also why you saw our SKSE use the Whiterun assets yesterday, which are just placeholders until we get the real deal. Alright, so let's actually move on to Elder Scrolls Online, believe it or not. Some people love it, some people hate it. I've played it myself a little. I think it was a fun MMO. Maybe not the fitting of the Elder Scrolls title, according to some. I personally enjoyed it, but yeah. So these screenshots are actually provided by a developer of ours, Zuna Icebear, who was kind enough to help us out. And Elder Scrolls Online did some things that people disliked, it did some things that people liked. Landscape-wise, it's a mixed bag for myself, but something I did like is what they did to the Gold Coast region. Now, I'm not an ESO player myself, and I don't own the expansions, so I was a bit late to the party, but essentially Elder Scrolls Online picked up where the original Bethesda team for Oblivion kind of failed, because the Gold Coast region is a Mediterranean region. It was supposed to be very what's the word? Very smooth and somewhat hilly. Instead, we got an almost mountainous area with lots of steep hills repeating until they reached the Colovian highlands. Instead, I can actually, if you give me a second, get a quote from some lore pieces that I've collected over the year or so. Let's see. Right. This is actually from Wikia instead, because my references are all over the place since I just reinstalled my PC, etc. The Gold Coast contains a series of irregular hills in the east, on the border of the West Weald. It begins a generally downward slope to the west and flattens out as it approaches the sea. The Gold Coast is lightly dotted with evergreen trees, blah blah blah. The rest is not really important. What is important that in the lore, the region is described as somewhat flat and slightly hilly. Instead, we got these very steep hills in Oblivion, which were not fun to explore since it was a lot of, you know, as we know with Oblivion, a lot of empty space. But on top of that, it wasn't that great to look at, in my opinion. So what's going to happen with the Gold Coast is that it's going to be more similar to the Elder Scrolls Online, which took the lore apparently more serious than Bethesda themselves did, and turned it, as you can see, into this more, I guess, ocean-like region. Because this is something you expect from a city that lies right next to the ocean. You don't expect it to be located next to all these tiny mountains. As you can see, you see the sea here, some sandstone, rock formations, and then a generally small difference in the height in the land that follows. It's a very slow but nice looking increase in the height of the terrain as it leads to the West Weald and the Oblivion Highlands. I think this is Anvil, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this one I like a lot. As you can see, it's a nice little beach with a sort of natural cape. And then as you move inland, it starts to get slightly more elevated to keep the water out. And then you get these nice little rock formations, as you would expect from a region like this. And no more insane mountain-like hills. Again, this is also a nice one. A gradual increase of the height of the terrain. And around the place are a lot of sandstone rocks, which again I really like. This is kind of what my original idea was for Skyblivion's Gold Coast, and then we thought that we weren't able to do this because of some limitations in quests and scripts, and then I scrapped the idea. Someone showed me all these screenshots from ESO like a year or so back. And I was really fucking pissed because they did pretty much what I originally planned for Skyblivion, and now we got the okay to actually do this. So I'm really excited to start working on this with SKSE and the other landscapers to make this an actual coast-like region slash Mediterranean. I still can't pronounce that. You know what? I'm gonna Google it. Mediterranean. Is that correct? Mediterranean. Well, in any case, the Gold Coast is going to look amazing. SKSE is a very talented landscaper, as you saw yesterday, very capable. So I think that together we were able to come up with something awesome. And I'm not sure what this is, by the way. You see these kind of these ruined walls, ancient walls. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a nod to such in the Elder Scrolls Online, because I'm not sure where these screenshots were taken, because I didn't take them myself. Would be pretty cool if it was. But regardless of that, it's again a very good concept for what the area is supposed to look like. A lot of gold colored grass, dry grass, lots of shrubbery, olive like trees, low pine trees, low pine bushes. All of these details will really help sell the idea that Gold Coast is a dry Mediterranean-like region. Gonna be great. Alright, I'm gonna show off for the people who just joined some of the real life references once again, and then let's see, and then we will go back in game and I'll kind of fly around and explain what I would like to see for the location. So again, this is a real-life scenic location, which is called the Azure Window. We have something similar to this, as you can see, right there. You can. All right, let's move the camera around and show you. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling a bit, but again, this is not a really scheduled or planned stream. I'm just rambling a little bit to get out some of my ideas for this region, which have been stored in my brain for the past year. Alright, so this is a real quick overview of kind of our own Azure window. Unfortunately, big parts of this place will have to be redone, mainly because we are using assets that will not be used in the final version of the game. These cliffs were made by someone who hasn't been around for a while, plus we have Liam, who is our environmental 3D artist, and he could probably do a much better job. But yeah, this is our own Azure window, our own version of it, which is pretty nice. Alright, so again, Gold Coast, Mediterranean region. It's supposed to be dry, it's supposed to be flat near the ocean, and it's supposed to be surrounded by sandstone cliffs near the ocean at certain points, and then at certain points it just generally or gradually moves up into the Gerald Mountains and the West Weald. Now near Anvil and to the right of Anvil, or to the south of Anvil I should say, these sandstone cliffs stop, and you will find terrain similar to this. There's a bunch of calm rock formations that gradually lead up into the landscape, and towards the border of Hammerfell you will find steep sandstone cliffs. Which more or less separate the ocean from the rest of the region and the rest of Cyrodiil. Along the coastline you will be able to find a lot of debris from, for instance, ships that have crashed in the past. You will find a lot of loose boulders and stones that have made their way down the cliffs. You will find a lot of twigs, maybe parts of trees that have washed up to the shore. And you will also find at least one fishing settlement near Hammerfell, which wasn't in the original game, but since the seas are a very good source of food and there's a big city nearby, it seems like the perfect place for citizens of Cyrodiil to make their home and make their living. So again, these are just real-life references that we like to use when we create concepts for these regions. And again, I like this one since it's the calm ocean with a very flat beach, and then at the place where the waves don't aren't able to come anymore, you start to see shrubbery and grasses that grow up the hill, which leads into this kind of more sparsely grown, overgrown area, which would be great for the Gold Coast. And something that again we are doing for such, for instance, is that the city is located on a natural sandstone plateau, which I will also bring up again. As you can see to the right, such is located on this sandstone collection of rock formations. It's more or less like half a sandstone plateau. To the, what was it again? Northeast? Yeah, to the northeast of such, we have a saltwater lake that will supply the place, or that would have supplied the place with fresh water in the past. This is where it's going to be located, more or less. Lord Drad's estate will be within the castle walls, or where the castle walls were in the past. Now this is probably where you will find the remnants of a main gate, which might have been refurbished for Lord Drad's estate. And I think, I might be wrong, I haven't looked at this in a while, I think this is where you will find the road that will lead to a saltwater lake, which is far off to the right. Again, I might be wrong, I haven't looked at this in a while. I'm kind of spitballing and throwing ideas out there that I came up with about a year ago. Again, a nice little map of where such was supposed to be located, with the road to the lake. This one was from the official I think E3 conference before the game was released. Did I say saltwater lake? I might have. I of course meant a sweetwater lake. And this will be more or less what the city looks like from the inside as the player explores. Now we are aware that there's a quest in the such dungeon, and there will still be a such dungeon, and you will still be able to complete this quest, so that's nothing to really worry about. Generally what I want to show in this video, or in the stream today, is how we plan to enhance the Gold Coast region. Alright, we'll actually fly. Let's get rid of that. I will fly across the Gold Coast region for a little bit and tell you what you can expect to change and what you can expect to more or less stay the same. So this is actually also some sort of a azure window like rock formation, which is pretty nice. So this place is actually, it looks pretty good already. You have these sandstone rock formations near the water. I think it might be nice for variation's sake to have a rock formation that actually leads into the water. Without the beach surrounding it. You have these big steep sandstone cliffs as you go near the Anvil, near the city of Anvil, which will be replaced with new models, and I don't know why textures are not loading. It's a shame because Gargula did these amazing 4K textures this week, or last week, which you can see. Oh, there we go. So yeah, near Anvil we have these steep sandstone cliffs. This rock side or mountain side will be removed completely, since we are now able to lower the landscape, which before seemed not possible due to certain limitations. Essentially, this whole place will be lowered to the level of the sandstone cliff that you can see here. The area won't be flat, by the way. It will be a collection of slight hills and slight variations in height. It just won't be as extreme as it was in Oblivion, which I'm very much looking forward to. As we get closer to Anvil, you see that we have some more sandstone cliffs surrounding the place. There will eventually be a nice natural looking scenic point that overlooks the city. And my idea was to have like a painter's hut on the cliff somewhere, which you can actually see right there, with someone painting the city during the day, and Gavach burning in the background, which is something that's exclusive to Skyblivion. You did not see Gavach burning in the original game. It's something that was done by Stade, which looks very, very cool. Anvil itself has not really been touched yet, though ArcSea did add a few rock formations to the lighthouse. Now, something I can point out, which is something that we have to look out for when we do landscape these areas, is that, for instance, when you use two similar rock formations next to each other, you get these not sure what to call it, but it really stands out because they are identical to each other. Not sure how I'm gonna explain that, but these are two of the same rocks right next to each other, and you have the same thing right here. Now, this is just a concept for the lighthouse, but it's something that we have to look out for. Nice little hidden chest. And Nirnroot. Now, to the right of Anvil and behind Anvil, you see these ginormous mountain-like hills. These will be completely destroyed and lowered to, I think, at the very least half the height that they are at now, to make the area again a more gradual increase in height as it reaches, or as it moves towards the Galovian Highlands. which again is going to look pretty fantastic. There's also, of course, a lot of detailing that needs to be done in the Gold Coast. As you can see, currently it's pretty empty. What I would like to see is to get rid of all these rocks and instead add these sandstone rocks that kind of stick out of the ground, some loose rocks here and there, some collections of rock formations at places, instead of what we had in the original Oblivion, which was very steep hills with some rocks scattered around the place. And this is also a good place to show off original Oblivion beaches. As you can see, you have very little room, or they decided to leave very little room for a beach and just kind of sink the place into the ocean very suddenly. So what's going to happen is that we are going to be flattening out the area and make the transition from beach into ocean more smooth and less sudden. So you can kind of wade into the water a little bit before you have to start swimming, which will again help sell the idea that this is a or a coast region, somewhat inspired by the Mediterranean regions. This is actually nice to show. It's one of the new pine trees from 3 AMT, which will be used in the region. Which is very great because the Gold Coast is a pretty dry area, so you would expect thin pines to be scattered around the place instead of these big pine trees. Also, these pretty fitting for the area. So yeah, this is a place that's going to be lowered at least halfway in order to improve the look and feel of the Gold Coast region. This big rock formation was also scrapped by SKSE in yesterday's stream, thankfully. The reason that there is this big mountainside is because there's an Oblivion gate right here. So we thought we were not able to change the locations of these Oblivion gates and other exterior locations, but it turns out that we are able to do this. So now we are able to lower the Oblivion gate to the level of the rest of the Gold Coast, and it allows us a lot more creative freedom when it comes to designing the landscape, and yeah, pretty great. So this is actually where Fort Such will be located, or the city of Such. Currently we only have Fort Such, which is a single ruined fortress. So the area will be actually raised to, I think, about this level, and then lowered again around the city. The city will be placed on top, and we will have a saltwater lake in the distance. And this is more how the Gold Coast region will look. Less steep hills and more slow-flowing landscapes. Lots of gold grass. Now these are placeholders, by the way. We recently started gathering our grass assets, and we are working on adding those to the game as we speak. So the way the Gold Coast looks right now is in no way anything close to what it would look like in the final version of Skyblivion. And I honestly kind of lost my train of thought, so I think I'm gonna end it there. The beginning was better than the end. I'm gonna admit that. The beginning of the stream. But I still hope you enjoyed some background information about the Gold Coast. I will put up some images again. Not for such, I think we've seen that. Oh, I can show the concept art. So this is what we plan to make the Gold Coast region look like. Gradual hills, such located on a partial plateau of sandstone, with a road leading towards the lake, the saltwater lake, that was originally going to be in the game. This is, I think, where Lord Drad's estate is, approximately. Might be wrong. And some of these real-life references again. A nice beach, clean beach, and then it leads up. Let me put on some music again. Then it slowly finds its way up, and as soon as the terrain increases in height, you will see dry grasses and shrubbery that found a nice place to grow. Some sandstone cliffs. One of the best references I've found so far for the Gold Coast region, at least for the areas around Anvil, where the sandstone cliffs are no longer showing up, which is only to the left of Anvil, which are just collections of sandstone rock formations that gradually lead up into the landscape behind Anvil. Again, something I would really like to see is the beaches, and then some loose boulders that have grouped together over time as the sandstone cliffs collapsed, which is pretty much what sandstone cliffs do. They come down slice by slice over time. Have these nice little collections of rocks and debris at a few locations. Again, some nice sandstone cliffs, lots of rocks, and the azure window. And this again is a good reference for where the Colovian Highlands and the Gold Coast more or less meet. Still nice and even level terrain, and behind all these trees would, for instance, be the Gerald or the Colovian Highlands, which is where it would start to increase in height and elevation and turn into a more mountainous terrain. And again, a reference where the Elder Scrolls Online did it right, with the Gold Coast not being a collection of mini mountains and really steep hills, but an actual coastal region. The city of Anvil and Elder Scrolls Online. But yeah, Elder Scrolls Online really nailed the Gold Coast region for me. It's a bit too green for my liking. I mean, after all, it's the Gold Coast. It's called the Gold Coast because it's a very dry region. You have the white yellowish sand, the dry yellow golden grasses and shrubs, But besides that, they really nailed the coastal look. And this is again what I meant when I mentioned the area behind Anvil. Currently, it is a very high collection of hills, very steep, and I would like it to be more gradual, leading up to the Oblivion Highlands, with sandstone rock formations scattered around the place. Not filling it because it's not a mountainous region, but just pieces of sandstone sticking out here and there, having some loose sandstone boulders, lots of grass, lots of vegetation, just no major trees because again it is a very dry region and this doesn't really fit the description of the region at all, in my opinion. But we will have plenty of nice pine trees to make up for that. Again, a nice beach, alien ruins, which are very important. We also have to work with those. Again, this is one of the best images, I think, because it shows you that the Gold Coast is indeed a pretty flat area, and not as hilly as it was in Oblivion. Again, it's also not flat, it is very it's more or less a collection of very calm hills. It's almost like the waves of an ocean. It goes up and down again, until it finally reaches the Oblivion Highlands, where it jumps out of the ground into the high mountainous landscape. Alright, I think that's about it for me. Sorry it turned out into a bit of a ramble at the end. But yeah, I hope you all learned something. I will not be uploading this video. I will be downloading it for myself, editing it, and turning it into a presentation for SKSE with some better commentary than what you got from me live. But yeah, thank you for joining us. If you have any ideas or concepts or real-life references for coastal regions, dry coastal regions or Mediterranean areas, please do send them our way, because we can always use more references. And thank you for joining the ride.